Good evening. This is Doc Severson for the TheoTrade report for Thursday, April 12th. Okay, guys, it comes down to this on the S&P 500. We've been knocking around in this range for the last, let's see here, 1, 2, 3 weeks. In this range alone, we've been just beating around in this range. And depending on how you look at this is several different patterns. So on an intraday basis, I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, this is kind of a head and shoulders type of pattern, which would be bullish to the upside. This is also, I guess you could say, an ascending triangle pattern setting up with about the same upside target. However, conversely, you can look at this as an enormous bear flag pattern on the daily chart and see that we have a downside target of about 2450 on the S&Ps, as well as the fact that this is a rising pattern. Rising patterns break to the downside. So any way you look at this, I think we're going to get resolution as the price is kind of jammed into this apex of this pattern and tried several times to break out of this today, unable to do so. There's some pretty staunch overhead resistance that we can see up at around this level here, which is around, right now it's around 2680, 2682 or so on the S&Ps. And part of that is bolstered overhead by the expected move for the week on the S&Ps. So we did touch that today. The upper expected move on the S&P 500 got tagged today and the price faded down from it. You can see how important this level is overhead right now. You can also see kind of this, it's pretty sloppy, but this is a bear flag pattern on a larger time frame basis. So a bear flag pattern would sort of signify the halfway home in the midst of a larger trend to the downside. Now, to put more gasoline on the fire, we do have a tremendous amount of energy. So on the weekly and the daily charts, we have just been going nowhere lately, and this non-linear price movement like this. So if you're selling iron condors in this place and keeping them on for a day or so, you've been doing great lately. But that's not going to last for very long because range contraction leads to range expansion. I would assume that within the next 5 trading days, by this time next Friday, we're going to see a pretty substantial move. And just in time, we have a little bit of a catalyst here. We have Citibank is announcing tomorrow morning, JP Morgan, PNC, as well as Wells Fargo. That should do it. So between those 4 banks, which are going to announce pre-market tomorrow, we should get plenty of catalyst, as if we didn't have enough catalyst with all the geopolitical events going on lately. Now, how much movement is the market basically forecasting in? Right now, there's about a 5.8 point move on the spiders, or about 58 handles on the full S&Ps of forward movement into next Friday. So this is the market saying that the spiders could be as high as about 271 or as low as 260 by next Friday's expiration. And you know what? Just looking at the chart here, I would say that that is more than likely underestimating the amount of volatility that we could see. So we said 271 to the upside or 260 to the downside. I think there's more potential than that given the amount of energy that we have. I think this is a case where the implied is once again underestimating the forward realized volatility of this market. Now, between the big caps and the small caps, we have 2 different pictures right now. Here's the small cap Russell 2000, and the Russell 2000 is already starting to break to the upside from there. So from this consolidation pattern, which is similar to what the S&P's been in for the past 3 weeks, price has already broken out to the upside, as well as maintaining just a tremendous amount of energy. So right now the Russell is in a larger time frame symmetrical pattern. So this is just a big triangle pattern. This is a very common consolidation pattern. This can move in either direction, but the point here is it's building up a tremendous amount of energy going nowhere right now. It's just running in place, and typically range contraction like this leads to big moves. Now here's the other side of the coin. Here's the Dow, and the Dow has already, this is the one index which is already touched and undercut the February lows. So mission accomplished there, but it's not getting much liftoff off of the bottom at this point. In fact, this descending trend line is still in play, and it can't seem to get beyond and above that. Okay, back to the spiders for a second. So the question would be, all right, if you're expecting a big move, how do you take advantage of this? And the way that I like to do this is a little bit non-traditional. Normally you would set up something like a straddle or a strangle. I honestly hate those strategies because they are so dependent on the Greeks. They're so influenced by changes in volatility through Vega, as well as all the normal issues of time decay that come with single options that really don't like those. So what I typically like to do is, I guess what I'd call a virtual strangle in this case. So I'd use vertical spreads on both ends of the spectrum here. So if I'm looking for a move by next Friday, that's either going to be up and over, say like 272. So right now, if we're saying that the current price is about 266 and we're forecasting about a 6-point move, plus minus 6-point move, then what I can simply do is buy it out of the money vertical spread at those strikes. So maybe the 260, 259 vertical spread, 260, 259, and that one is running for maybe 15 cents or so, 15, 16 cents to the downside. Now we're also looking for perhaps a movement up to 272, so we could do something like a 272, 273 to the upside, and that one is going to run about the same thing. So normally these cost about, per contract, about $15 per contract. And these things are going to be full of gamma. These are going to be really, really responsive with about a week left. Now, the issue here is with this type of trade, these are cheap. So you're either going to have to see a movement down, pretty strong movement down, or a pretty strong movement up. If the price basically stays within this range in this area, then you're going to surrender not only one, but both sides of the trade. So one side is meant to be kind of a throwaway, just like any other straddle or strangle. And the other side, we have to do what we can to take as much of a profit as possible. But again, right now I'm looking at this and saying the potential for, at the very least, a 60 handle movement between now and next Friday is pretty strong. And who knows, maybe in a perfect world we get an initial move down and then we see some kind of a slingshot move back up, or it could be actually the opposite of that. So there is a way that we could actually handle profits on both sides with this type of trade for relatively small investment. Hey folks, before you go, I want to talk to you for just a minute about the TheoTrade Live Return of the Trader event. Why are we calling it the Return of the Trader event? Well, because we believe, and we've already seen, volatility returning to the market as of February and March, and we think it will continue going into the rest of this year. So there's no better time than now to get prepped for all this volatility than at this event, because this is what we're going to be focusing on. So look at all these happy people from our last event. You can be one of them at the next event, which is coming up the beginning of May. So May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I'll get into that in just a minute. Right now for members, the members are getting pricing of $1,100. So you've got until April 1st to get this price level. Otherwise, it's going to end up going up again. And also, don't forget that the event is limited to 200. So once we do sell the 200th ticket to this, we will shut down admissions to this event. All right, so where is it at? When is it going to happen? All those things. So it's going to occur at the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is where we were last September. It is a really, really nice place, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in just a minute. So who's this for? Intraday traders, swing traders, income traders. We've got something for everyone here. So again, on the 3rd of May, May 3rd, is where we have the event registration and the happy hour. So you can meet all of us live, can corner us in a room and ask us questions. And drinks are on TheoTrade, so don't forget that. We also have a quick event for you guys with Jeff and Don coming up. On Friday, May the 4th, this is when everything kicks in here. First session of the day will be Return of the Trader by Don Kaufman. And then we'll shift into Jeff Bierman. Professor Jeff Bierman will go into negotiating intraday volatility shifts, something that's very, very important in this type of volatility. The last session in the morning will be Perfecting Your Nasdaq and Intraday Trading Style by Tony Rago. And after lunch, I'll come on board with Fractal Analysis Intensive. So we're going to be talking about fractals in the context of what's happening in the market today. And then we'll go into Taming the Trend Day by Corey Rosenblum at the end of that day. So that is Friday, May 4th. So it's a market day. And then we will have the second day, Saturday, May 5th. And we're going to go right back into Don first thing in the morning. Probability and Profitability in Trading by Don. Price Action Intensive, again by myself. So I'm going to be going into specifics of reading price action. Tony will go into more about intraday trading, the Nasdaq E-mini. Don Kaufman will go into the state of the markets. We'll talk to Corey for creating your game plan for the next trading day. And then we'll have all of us up front, closing ceremonies, final giveaways, and everybody is sent home at that point on Saturday evening. So you might be saying, well, that all sounds great, but what's in this for me? Well, we've got 9 reasons here as to why we think this is a good event for you. First of all, just hearing repetition, practice and repetition over the next 2 days as we conduct this seminar. You're going to hear the same things again and again, and pretty soon you'll start to think in the same way. Don't forget that almost all of us trade at home or in our office by ourselves, and many times we don't feel like we're connected. Well, this is where we can also show you that you're part of a bigger community. You're going to hear from others and understand what they're doing in today's market. And by doing that, you'll discover your one-of-a-kind style. This is where you form your own trading strategies. You're going to be talking to not only the instructors, but also other people in the room to gain their wisdom, get their approach from things. Understand how to risk manage in today's market, play it safe and play it profitably. And make sure that you're not trading just out of boredom. We're not going to get boredom in this year's market, but making sure that you're looking for just the best setups and then being decisive about taking those setups. And then finally, ultimately, this is what we're all after, is that peace of mind and freedom that all of us are looking for through individual trading. Now, this is not some event where we just sit up at the front of the room and put a virtual wall in between you and us. You're going to meet all of us. You're going to talk to us at the breaks. We are here for you, to talk to you. So Don, Jeff Bierman, myself, Tony Rago, Corey Rosenblum, as well as your other 200 attendees. Now let's talk about the actual location, the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch. And I'm particularly excited to talk about this because there's some really cool things about this place. So it's pretty easy to get to. It's not that far from the airport. It's a world-class airport. You should be able to get direct flights in just about regardless of where you live. Let's talk about the venue for a second. This is what a typical room looks like. And I do want to mention, I mention this every time I talk about this event, but I love the chairs that they have here. The chairs have armrests. You're not going to be sitting here playing elbow wars with a guy next to you. They recline, so you're going to be comfortable all day long. You're not going to be sitting on some little narrow, tiny banquet chair that's going to wear you out after 3 hours. The weather should be excellent at this time of year. There's all kinds of events and outdoor activities that they have at this particular ranch. Now let's talk about the meals as well too. This is where, again, I get excited about this because breakfast, this is not just any breakfast. This is a really, really good breakfast served on Friday and Saturday, as well as the lunch. So we bring in the lunch. We bring in the lunch here for you guys. Bring in the lunch. So both days we're going to serve you breakfast and lunch. For dinner, you're on your own because a lot of people want to go explore the area. But what we find is a lot of people get together as groups anyway and go out to eat for dinner. So anyway, get your ticket right now. Make sure you get it in before April 1st to be able to get that preferred pricing. Don't miss this event. This is a great time. There's a lot of terrific information that's brought out there. Everybody walked away with a smile on their face last time. We want you to be one of those people to join us as well too. Hope to see you out there. Take care.